Hello everyone, my name is Stephanie Iacino, the Director of Community Engagement, and today I am joined by Liz Lewis, the Social Worker Supervisor in the Stockton office,
Hi.
and Demetria Seawood, our Placement Specialist.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking more about the foster care placements, how that works, answering any questions you guys might have, and things like that. So if you guys have questions, feel free to write them out in the chat, and I'll periodically go through those and ask these guys your questions. So let's go ahead and get started. So Demetria,
Yes.
how does Parents by Choice receive placements?
So there's three main sources. You're going to get calls from CPS when kids are being initially removed, from other foster care agencies when they've had a placement and something hasn't worked out. They may have received a notice, or they're just not getting along well and not meshing, and they feel like another home would be better fit. Then they'll call us. And then there's group homes where kids have been placed for a while and they're ready to step down into an actual home at this time.
Okay. All right. So has COVID-19 interfered with the number of calls that you receive?
Yes, so they have dropped quite a bit, and I'm receiving less of those CPS calls. And it's mainly because when you do get those calls, teachers are one of the big sources that are making those reports. Doctor's offices, and obviously people aren't going to those places now. So I'm expecting that once COVID gets a chance to get things back to normal, we'll see a big boom in those calls, and we'll need a lot of foster parents to be able to come in and be ready to provide those homes for us.
Okay. All right. So just kind of jump in real quick. If you guys want to become a foster parent, we have the link on the bottom of our screen. So parentsbychoice.net/programs/foster care. And that will give you more information on how you can become a foster parent to help us with this boom that's going to be coming. All right. So Demetria, what information do you receive with the placement calls?
So normally I'm looking at the name of the child, their age, common themes and behavior they may have had in the past, some of their strengths, some of their interests, if they have visits with siblings or parents, what that schedule looks like and where those visits are located, looking at where their school is at and how they're doing in school, if they're on medication, if they have a diagnosis, things like that, any major allergies, if they're receiving like therapeutic services, again, when that's happening, how often that's happening, so foster parents are aware of what their responsibility may be if they're having to drive them, and then just kind of if they've been in placements or been in care for a while, really their foster care history and kind of what has worked with them in the past and what looks like they need in the future.
Okay. All right. What information do you tell the foster parents when you get a placement call?
Everything that I just listed, unless we have some of those things that are emergency placements, and that's when I may just have a name of a child, or I may just have the age and that's it. And that's usually calls that are happening late in the middle of the night or early in the morning when they've just removed a child and they just need a home as quickly as possible. So if I have all the information, I give them all that I have, but sometimes I don't have all of that.
Okay, so you just provide them as much information as they can to
Definitely.
make the decision?
Yes.
Okay. And they have a choice to choose whether or not to take the child or if they're going to pass on this time?
Yes, so then I always give the option of a meet and greet, unless it's an emergency placement, of course, where you would have a chance to meet the child, maybe do an over the night visit or over the weekend visit, and then kind of see how they've meshed into your family, see if you can. If you have a thing where you're like, oh, this child seems like I can do this, maybe I can work with it, but I have a couple questions, I don't know, you'll take that time to get to know them and really see if you're able to provide a good fit for them.
Okay. All right. So what age range do you receive calls for the most?
Mostly it's school age is a thing that I hear a lot. It's really that 6 to 18 is really mostly what I get. The calls I get the most are for teens and for sibling sets of kids, and that can be from 2 to up as big as maybe 5 siblings. Depending on how big your home is how big you can care for or how many kids you can care for. But yeah, that sibling set and then those teenagers is pretty common.
So do you try to keep the siblings together as much as possible, or?
Yes. So when you have a bigger capacity, then I may call you more for those sibling sets if you're open to it. Like I said, it's pretty common. Mostly it's two siblings, maybe 3, but it has gone up to as much as 5. It's very rare, but it's happened.
Okay. Wow. So what's the most difficult age range to place?
I would say the teenagers. I get a lot of calls for teens, and normally I hear the same name over again, or I'm hearing kind of the same case notes over again because they're constantly trying to place this teen. Just because a lot of people have fear of teens and they have unrealistic expectations of what teens look like. So they automatically hear 14 or 15 and they're like, oh, I can't do that. And they kind of they think that 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds are just perfect little angels, and that's not always the case. Every kid that comes into foster care, the trauma alone from being removed from your parents is enough to maybe cause a behavior. So just keeping that open mindset that teens are not necessarily bad. It's not whatever expectation you have, just kind of talk about that with me and with the team, and we can help you see what's realistic and where we can help.
Okay. All right. So what's the biggest obstacle for you as a placement worker?
I would say back kind of those expectations and that uncertainty. People will say no to a placement and just tell me no and say, I don't think I can provide care without explaining why. And a lot of times that why is something we could have helped you with. If you're saying no because you can't get a kid to visits, we could have helped you with transportation potentially. So that could have been a placement that you could have taken, and it would have been very helpful to that child, and you could have been helped in the process, but you said no without explaining it. So kind of that type of deal. Or if you're saying, okay, this kid has a diagnosis, I don't know if I can do that, I don't have the skills. You don't have to have the skills. I'll be able to kind of walk you through what's happening. It's important for me to know what your fears are, what your hesitation is, so that we can see how we can partner with you, because each placement is a partnership, it's a collaboration. We're not just dropping them off and saying, best of luck to you. We're definitely going to it's a team effort with every single placement.
Okay, so it sounds like Parents by Choice provides a lot of support when children are placed in the home.
Definitely. You may have in-home support, your social worker will be there. I get calls from parents even though they've already been placed. The director of foster care, she'll step in whenever need be. Anyone who's a part of the program is there to help you. So always ask, where can you partner with me? How can you help me before you say the no? So that if you say no, you have all the information and you said no with an educated no, not just a hesitant no.
Okay. All right. Let's see if there's any questions in the chat real quick. What type of wraparound and support services does the agency provide? So either Demetria or Liz, whichever one wants to take that question.
You want to jump on that one, Liz?
Sure. So we offer mental health services. We also have an ISFC program, so it's intensive services foster care, where you get an in-home support as well as the social worker. So just an extra person that comes out, supports the family, supports the kid, answers any questions that you may have.
Yeah. I think you covered it. Yeah.
All right. So hopefully that answered your question, Marissa. So we'll go ahead and move on. So Liz, how can a family prepare to take their first placement?
So usually taking a first placement probably is a little scary, I would assume. So I would just say making sure you have the room ready, a bed, a dresser, ample closet space. Just want to make them feel welcome. If you already know the gender and the age of child, maybe go out and get some toys or some clothes that would possibly fit them or something that they would enjoy, just to make them feel more welcomed and not just like, you're throwing me into a house, I don't know who these people are.
Okay. So a family's accepted a placement, now what happens?
So you usually get a call from either the agency or the county social worker, who would most likely be bringing the child. Typically they come with all of their stuff in trash bags, which is very, very sad. What we do as an agency, we give duffel bags so they don't have to use trash bags anymore. So first placement is very scary, like I've already said, and you just wait for the child to be placed. The agency will always be in contact with you, and then the county worker as well.
Okay. So you mentioned that the kids get duffel bags. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit more about where we get the duffel bags, what's in them?
So we have two different types of bags. We have bags geared towards teens and then more bags geared towards like younger kids. We get them from a company called Together We Rise. And so these bags include a teddy bear, a pillowcase, and a blanket. No matter the age, no matter the gender, you always get those 3 items. And then depending on the age and the gender, we also supply toys. Maybe if we have any extra clothes in the office, we could put it in the bag. Toothbrushes, toothpaste, something that they can have of their own. Because most of these kids don't have a lot of stuff of their own. So we like to provide these, and usually the first visit or the second visit.
Okay. So if you guys would like, you can always contact Together We Rise to look more into making the duffel bags. Demetria, can you hold the blue bag real quick closer to you? Just because it's going to, they can't see it right now. You can just pick it up and... So this is the bag that the little ones would get. It's, kind of decorated and themed for the kids. So they have, Together We Rise allows companies or groups to decorate the bags and fill the bags up with different items, so you can contact them for more information on that. I believe the website is togetherwerise.com. But I'll make sure I'll put it in the link so you guys have that as well. All right. So other than the duffel bags, does the agency provide anything to kind of help with the transition of a child going from one home to another? It wasn't there.
That's what I answered already. Sorry. So besides the duffel bag, we also just offer a ton of support. You have a social worker who will come to the home. You have a supervisor who you can also call. Sometimes you will get an in-home support worker, which is just another person who will work with the child more than the entire family, but also there to support the family. And then there's also the director of foster care, who is also always willing to help. We also have a mental health team that's willing to help, especially if we get to refer them to our mental health services, which is what we like, because then the entire team is working together. Yeah.
Okay. So what should a family do the first night a child is placed in the home?
The first night is probably going to be a little awkward. The child or youth is probably not going to know what to talk about. They're going to still want to get to know you. And so what I've always done is I try to just get to know them. I ask them what they like, what they dislike. I ask them if they like sports or if they don't. I ask them what their kind of favorite foods are, so I can maybe incorporate that into our family routine. But first, before anything, I would definitely give the child or youth a tour of the home. They've probably never done that before. So I would walk them through each bedroom, each living room. I'd walk them outside. I'd show them their room and where they can put all of their stuff. That would just make them feel more at ease. Like I said, they're probably scared. They don't know what's going on. So just trying to be more, reassuring and comfort them as best you can. I think just that in itself will make the first night go a lot easier.
Okay. So is there anything that a family is required to do after a child is placed in the home?
Yes. So the social worker will come out, the agency social worker will come out within 24 to 48 hours. Typically, it's either the day of placement or the day after. And so what they do is they bring a binder. This is going to hold everything related to the child, whether it be anything medical, dental, anything school related, if they have any types of services or an IEP for school, any extra medical, so like eye doctor appointments or specialty appointments, these would all stay in the binder, so then everything is in one spot. And so there's different forms in there that the social worker would go over on that first placement day, and they usually go over in detail. So there's one thing you would do within the first week typically, usually within the first couple of days, is you just want to do a quick inventory of everything that the child came with. We just like to keep records, and it's good to have. And then usually within 30 days, a doctor's appointment and a dentist appointment we require. Right now, that's a little difficult because of COVID-19, but some places are still doing by appointment only. So it just depends on where you live and if doctors are taking them at this time. But like I said, the social worker will go over the entire binder with you in detail. It has forms you need to fill out on a weekly and monthly basis that would eventually be collected by the social worker. And they would just try and answer all of your questions in that first day. And yeah.
Okay. So what kind of assistance or support does a family receive?
So I've said it before. So you get a social worker. The social worker would come out weekly. Usually you can do a set schedule, so they can come every day, Wednesday at 4, or you can change it up and they could come a Tuesday and then a Thursday. Whatever works with your schedule. We try to do what's best for the family and the kid. So if there's a certain time where like you're working late, we could actually go see the kid at school. Right now there is no school, but we've done that in the past. We've seen them in school. We've seen them in extracurricular activities. We've gone to places with them. Of course, right now you can't. So typically our meetings are in the home, which we are still doing, by the way. And then, so the social worker comes out once a week. If you end up getting an in-home support, they would come out either once a week or more, depending on the need of the child. So for ISFC, they have to be seen at least once a week by the social worker and the in-home support. So if there's a child who's not ISFC, but you've been noticing certain behaviors, we could always assign an in-home. And depending on those behaviors, they could come out 1 time a week, 2 times a week, depending on the need.
Okay. So you might have a couple of people coming to the home a couple of times during the week instead of just one person each week.
Definitely. We try to provide as much support as we can because foster care is pretty difficult. And a lot of these kids have come from so many different backgrounds, so much trauma that we just want to be able to help them any way we can.
Okay. All right. See if there's any other questions in the chat. I'm not seeing anything. All right. Do you guys have anything else you would like to add? Or you guys
to have you?
Yes, we would love to have more foster parents or even people to help like provide things for our foster parents. Mm-hmm. So donations, or if someone wants to help make pillowcases, that'd be great. Or anything really. We always are accepting donations. We could use all the help we can get. But if you want to become a foster parent, that would be great.
All right, so the type of donations you guys can do, aside from Together We Rise, is there is a group called the Linus Project that helps provide blankets for the kids. And they don't do it just for kids in foster care. They do it for kids in the hospital and things like that as well. So we'll also provide that information in the thing. Another thing is the pillowcases, like Liz mentioned. Those you can make on your own and just bring it in. I haven't seen a place or a group that actually does them on a regular basis. So if you guys have those, we would love to take those. New clothes for the kids, definitely we'll take those. Used clothes, if they're gently used, maybe. But we try to stick with new clothes as much as possible. We don't want to make the kids feel like they're getting hand-me-downs.
Definitely.
And there is one question in the chat from Helene. What ages do you have the most difficult time finding foster homes for?
Hi, Helene. I answered a little bit earlier, but it's the teen homes, like I said before. Those teen homes are a really, really big need. That kind of hesitation with teens really is not helpful for trying to get those kids somewhere. They just need somewhere to stay, someone to help them walk them into adulthood. So any questions about that, we're definitely welcome to answer. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and reach out to Stephanie. They reach out to you, right, if they have those initial questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, reach out to Steph. I just want to just ask questions. Always, if you're curious at all, definitely, you can definitely be a big help to some of those kids.
Definitely.
Yeah. So if you guys want to become a foster parent, the process is pretty simple. Right now it's being done all online, including the training. So you just go to our website, www.parentsbychoice.net/programs/foster care. And you can get more information on how to do that. Some of the qualifications are you just have to be 18 years and older. You have to have a clean background. You can rent or own your own home. You you don't have to own it. You can rent it. And I think that's all that I can come up with right now on the fly. So, anything else you guys would like to add? Good?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
There's no other questions in the chat. So, thank you, Demetria, Liz, for joining us today
Thank you for having us.
and answering questions. You guys can join me next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. I'll be joined by Cynthia. I'm going to butcher her last name. Buenrostro. Again, it's probably butchered, but Cynthia is our outreach specialist in the Modesto office, but she's also had some time in foster care as a teenager, so she's going to share her experience, give you some tips on how you can make a child feel a little bit more comfortable, or a teenager feel more comfortable in the home, and answer some of your questions on teenagers in foster care. So, I think that's it for today, so we'll see you guys again Tuesday at 3.
Bye.